All right. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Diana Barrero Zales, and I am the Global Blockchain Business Council Head of Research and Sustainability. It's my pleasure to welcome you to this GBBC Virtual Members Forum on Blockchain and the Future of Efficient Ecosystems. We are a bi-weekly webinar showcasing the innovative work of our members around the world. And today we're joined by Dom Braun, CEO of Lykke Business. Lykke provides business solutions across sectors by building, launching, and operating innovative and complex solutions powered by blockchain. Today's presentation, Dom will walk us through how Lykke is using blockchain to create more efficient ecosystems. So briefly, before we begin, I would like to introduce Dom. Dom Braun is an experienced business and technology leader who has been in the industry in various global leadership positions and as an entrepreneur for more than 20 years. Dom today is known as a thought leader in the overall tech space with the ability to build up businesses from scratch and revamp and scale existing ones. Dom is the CEO of the innovative Swiss blockchain engineering company Lykke Business, which is part of the wider Lykke ecosystem, an organization which helps both innovative startups and some of the biggest brands in the financial services industry with developing and offering white-labeled blockchain-based enterprise solutions. So we welcome your questions at any point during today's presentation. Please submit them in the Q&A tab at the bottom of your Zoom screen, and we will take them at the end of the presentation. So thank you, Dom, for joining us. We're so excited. And now I'm going to turn things over to you for you to begin.
Thanks, Diana. Very excited to be here as well. Hello, everyone. Can you see my screen, right? Perfect. Yeah. So yeah, I'm Dom. And as Diana mentioned, I'm running a Swiss blockchain engineering company. Feel free to reach out on LinkedIn or connect with me on LinkedIn or WhatsApp. Just quickly, my main responsibilities is actually not being CEO of Lykke Business, but is actually, I'm the father of 3 and soon to be 4. You can imagine that's the utmost priority these days. But yeah, for sure, from a profession perspective, I'm running the blockchain engineering company, where I will also shed some light what we are doing in a second. I'm also strategic advisor of a fintech startup from the US, which I helped actually to build up or expand the Asia business called Episode 6. And I'm working also closely together with GBBC, and I'm one of the regional ambassadors here in Asia, specifically for Southeast Asia. I'm currently based in Singapore since 11 years. So just, I mean, if you have never heard about us, Lykke Business, right? I want to explain a little bit more who we are and what we do and what our sweet spots are. And please feel free, as Diana mentioned, to ask any questions in the chat box for later for the Q&A session. So first of all, as Diana already mentioned, we are a Swiss boutique blockchain engineering company. We are boutique, small but very efficient, and also able to scale up to much more resources when we have a specific project. I come to that a little bit later. We are actually part of the wider Lykke ecosystem, but very independent. But in general, if you look at the ecosystem, we have a crypto exchange, we have market making, and we have also some other associated companies within and partnerships within the ecosystem. But Lykke Business is really all about B2B business, not B2C business, B2B business. Our clients are like big financial institutions or conglomerates or startups, but our clients directly are institutions. And our clients' clients are either SMEs or retail clients. Yeah. And actually, Lykke Business was founded like 4 or 5 years ago. And so one of the, I would say, one of the earlier pioneers in that space, in the blockchain space. And we are really developing custom blockchain-based enterprise solutions. At least it started like that over the last couple of years, but now we are transforming also to a new business model, like with SaaS solutions, etc. I come to this in a moment. And the interesting thing is we are able to offer and combine the concept of off-chain and on-chain solutions and have created actually off-the-shelf solutions for different blockchain use cases. And I will share a little bit more about this in a second. And the part of combining on-chain and off-chain is very important because often our clients have some regulatory limitations to start actually, depending on the use case, with a blockchain use case. So we start then off-chain with a database actually not related to blockchain, but then transform them with a roadmap in the future when the license regime is there, or when, depending where our clients operate, in which jurisdictions and what use case we are talking about, to transform them then to an on-chain approach, to really based on blockchain itself. And in general, we have global solutions. So we develop the solutions for any kind of client in any kind of part of the world. But we really have the focus at the moment on Southeast Asia, the Middle East, and parts of Europe. And our strategic hubs are actually in Switzerland, Singapore, and now also most recently in UAE region. And our focus, and that resonates really how I did actually over the last 20 years, always business. Our focus is really building up long-term partnerships and building up ecosystems and new ecosystems, but also helping existing ecosystems to be actually more efficient, was what effectively today's topic is all about. So just that you can actually also connect the dots where we are coming from a tech perspective and how this resonates with ecosystems in general. So first of all, we have identified, and I'm with the company, by the way, now 8 months, but we have identified over the last 8 months 5 sweet spots where we're really focusing on. And you can think about this. We're offering solutions with a white label approach, and we name it like white labeling digital asset shop. Yeah. And the first big use case is actually with different sub use cases. You can white label what we already have to launch your own NFT marketplace. And interestingly, the first use case in that space we are going to the market over the next couple of months is as a technology provider with a Chinese US American company to launch their NFT marketplace for IP music rights, right? And we have certain discussions with clients around IP rights on art or antiques and also on real estate. Yeah, so that's number one. The second one is a big one. It's all around financial asset tokenization. I mean, our narrative and our focus in general is what we are doing is not necessarily crypto, right? I mean, blockchain, crypto is just one use case, but blockchain is so much more. And financial asset tokenization is huge. And if you think about the market of all assets in the world, the financial assets in the world, actually, it's trillions and trillions US dollar worth of actually market value, right? And the vision is here to transform and convert existing assets of any kind actually to tokenize them to digital assets. And we have a lot of discussions these days around financial asset tokenization. I give you an example. In Switzerland, we go to market with the Swiss banking group over the next couple of months. There we actually do equity share tokenization, where this banking group wants to give their SME clients a better entrance to the finance market with the use of smart contracts, right? And other discussions are currently around bond tokenization for exchanges, or with some other banks around corporate loan tokenization. So you see also here, there is a lot of different use cases, sub-use cases related to it, which you can also use for crowdfunding, what we're doing with this kind of Swiss banking group currently. And then, hold on, let me just minimize here. Okay. Then the third area where we are active is crypto wallet and trading. So the same platform you can actually leverage to build your own crypto exchange, for example, or if you're a digital bank or neobank and you want to give your clients access to the crypto trading market, you can actually white label it as well, you know, and you can even build up themed marketplaces with that platform. Okay, so the second last one is around custody for digital assets. So that we are offering actually a solution embedded already in our platform with our own solution, but also agnostic to any other custody solution provider in the market, to offer custody for securing the private or storing this private key in a secure environment. And we built that, that solution on IBM HSM, so with the highest security verification in the market. And last but not least, building DLT ecosystems, blockchain ecosystems. And this resonates with our session today with different kind of use cases, and I come to that in a second. Yeah. So in general, I want to give you a quick high-level overview what kind of ecosystems we are involved with when we are speaking about our technology and trying to help them to be more efficient. So first of all, industry ecosystems. Yeah, it could be associations or specific industry ecosystems who are actually trying to solve an industry-wide challenge. So we were, for example, in the past involved in one aviation kind of association, right? To help to do a POC on generating a corporate coin that actually this ecosystem is able to use that corporate coin as a form of payment, as an example. And we go actually at the moment in one of the European countries in the market with another association actually linked to a city to create their digital voucher system to replace their manual vouchers in phase 1. And in the second phase to launch like a city coin, right? Which is also a hot topic these days. So these projects are at the moment ongoing. And then financial institutions. Interestingly, with financial institutions, we have a lot of discussions around a very common topic, loyalty rewards, how you can actually optimize your ecosystem, your current ecosystem already in providing loyalty reward solutions, making it interoperable with other loyalty rewards, which is not linked to that bank itself. Yeah. And then definitely a big topic, what we have discussions with is around retail conglomerates who own shopping malls, who own like diverse kind of properties as well, to build up really ecosystems for different use cases. And I come to that in a moment. And in general, any kind of enterprise who wants to really build a community, to build an ecosystem, to sell their products, to increase, like, for example, their kind of marketing activities, gain new customers, etc. I mean, the motivation behind that is quite wide in general. And then also real estate conglomerates. So we had retail conglomerates, but real estate conglomerates. So with that, we are working together with a couple of very closely at the moment, real estate conglomerates. And I will also share one use case in that regard soon. And then what I mentioned already also, which is kind of resonating also with the industry ecosystems in the cities, regions, where we are on one hand working on a project with an association, but this association is linked to a city in Europe. So, and when you look at the general use cases for ecosystems, I can actually take as a headline, maybe it's all related kind of to community tokens or utility tokens. So, and I would have here 5 buckets in general. So first of all, token rewards, right? So how can you actually build, in first instance, most likely a closed loop ecosystem where you can actually offer token rewards, loyalty, a loyalty program, blockchain based to your clients and to your partners, and also generate actually with these rewards referral business for yourself, and also provide behavioral incentives to your clients or ecosystem users in general. Yeah. And also within the token rewards segment, you have the ability then to steer your own campaigns with the campaign management, etc. So this is just a couple of examples around token rewards. But then also it comes back to earning tokens and spending tokens, right? So at the end of the day, you can use then that ecosystem and the token for peer-to-peer transfers, right? For payment services, or how we do it at the moment with the digital voucher system with that association linked to a city in Europe. You can use that as well for that, yeah, as a kind of a payment service as well. And then you have ecosystem tokens, right? If you think about an ecosystem for airlines, right, for air miles, or you want to launch as a company an employee benefit program. So we have some discussions around this, how you could use blockchain for this to actually really reach the employee and provide a benefit, kind of a equity share, etc. And then the whole system for what I mentioned earlier for cities, you know, to launch a tourist coin or city coin. Yeah. And then, yeah, also the topic ESG is very hot these days, everything around sustainability and impact. So we have discussions around, for example, okay, how can you incentivize good behavior with green rewards on government level, for example, or how can you actually structure an ecosystem where you give out carbon credits for specific behavior, yeah? And these all four segments you can actually, or we can do actually with one specific platform we have developed over the last couple of years. And where we also are more and more involved, yeah, is where clients, ecosystems want to or are already building up their own metaverse environments, right? So they're really replicating what is in reality there in metaverse, but also converting it back to the reality at the end for the end-to-end customer experience in general. And there often the question comes up for conglomerates, but also, for example, for gaming companies with their ecosystems, how can you make, for example, the experience with NFTs interoperable with the whole metaverse environments? So a lot of discussions around that currently with different kind of clients. So when we look at the challenges in general for ecosystem, what we see, I mean, I just mentioned here 5, yeah. First of all, it is clear, I think, if you want to build an ecosystem from scratch, it is very costly because it is resource intensive, you need technology, etc. And for this, you need funding or cash available. But often there is already an ecosystem in place and they just want to use blockchain to innovate, right? That ecosystem and make things a little bit different. So what you have then in place is legacy tech, right? And the need to transform. And there the question is often, okay, do I have to replace all this legacy tech or can I just complement what I have and close the gaps with blockchain? And yes, that's possible. And that was one approach for the use case I'm mentioning soon. And the other challenge for a lot of ecosystems where it's getting sometimes very political is that many different stakeholders are involved during the process, right? And to get a buy-in how the ecosystem look like and what you want to do with this ecosystem also from a blockchain use case perspective is very crucial, right? And then last but not least, regulatory requirements, depending where our clients are based, yeah, independent, so in which jurisdiction, or what kind of use case they actually want to do within the ecosystem with the blockchain. It is often not clear for the client or our ecosystem what the regulatory impact is. Yeah. So where we are coming in, okay, we are at the moment tech provider, right? Purely from the tech perspective. And we can help them to connect them with the right blockchain law firm, for example, to get advice. But we are also working at the moment on a concept to apply ourselves for a license, for a regulatory license, starting in Switzerland and then moving to other jurisdictions in the future, where we actually are able in the future to take that regulatory burden from our clients' shoulders, right? Because a lot of our clients are anyway regulated, but they not necessarily have the regulation to be able to, for example, transfer tokens or to actually use the token as a really currency, right? In general, or convert it to fiat, etc. So there are also different kind of aspects where regulatory requirements come in place or put in place. Yeah. So let's take a look at one of the use cases I want to share today. It's an incentive-driven ecosystem powered by a community token, which we have actually done with a project for more than 1.5 years, right? In the past, before the platform actually got ready, how it is today. And just to give you a higher level summary, what we needed to achieve during that project, right? So first of all, the the blockchain-based system needed to complement the existing system. That is exactly the situation what I just mentioned under the challenges. So this client, for example, had a lot of different systems in place, right? They already actually they already had a loyalty system in place, but not blockchain based, right? But there's a lot of challenges, etc. But they want to complement the existing system and not rip off the whole system, because also depending on the complexity of the different systems already in work since many years, right? It could take maybe 5 or 10 years to replace it. So it's good to see, okay, what are the pain points and where actually could we close the gap and solve some immediate problems, right? To go a step-by-step approach in general. Then also, secondly, what was very important for that client is, and that we hear from actually every client we are speaking to, ecosystem clients, is they really wanted to have a real-time settlement of the token points and not batch how they did it so far. Yeah. And then also the flexibility that a user can send their points to friends or family or anyone else who the person actually nominates for it. Yeah. And then also this token rewards should like work in this in a sense that you get automated earning for referrals whenever you refer a new client to that ecosystem, right? And also with campaigns, etc., to give access to exclusive offers and events, and use also the token actually token rewards for that in general. And this gives you a snapshot how the solution in general was working. On the left side, the platform actually was including or consisting of different kind of ecosystem partners of this ecosystem client of us, right? So you had in real estate, so properties, you had an aquarium, you had community management, you had different hotels, different cinemas, and different malls in general included in that ecosystem. And on the right side, you see like a snapshot how an app could look like, because we in general can provide end-to-end solution, back-end and front-end. And with this app, the user would be able to store all their loyalty points and loyalty tokens in one place, and also have the flexibility to exchange the loyalty tokens against each other, and also sell or convert the loyalty tokens for either like cryptocurrency, but also for fiat currency, where exactly that regulatory impact also might come to place. And in general, one of the main use was also why blockchain technology was chosen is really to protect the data, because as we all know, most likely is that blockchain is immutable, right, and transparent, and it's very hard to actually do fraud actually with the data once it is stored on blockchain database itself. So that was one of the main motivations of that client in general. And when we look at the stakeholders itself, right, there were 3 different stakeholders involved within that ecosystem. First of all, you had the business itself, in this case, the conglomerate, yeah. But then actually you had the participating business and partners involved. So the businesses were, for example, the malls, the hotels, the properties, etc. But then it could also be some external partners, right? Because you could actually open up the ecosystem to really close external partners which are not owned by you directly as well. Yeah, the interoperability comes in place there. And then last but not least, the end consumers or end customers and users. And when you look at this whole platform, there's always a question, okay, if we spend that money to build that platform, right, and leverage what you already have developed over the years, what are the benefits really? It's not only about the ROI, but what are the benefits for the different stakeholders? And I put a couple of points here together. Let's run to it. For the business, for the conglomerate itself, it was, as mentioned earlier, it was crucial that there was the ability of instant settlement and transaction, real-time transaction without batch processing per day or major delays, right? Then secondly, that there is a new technology stack and architecture which enables in the long run cost saving and enhanced performance. So when I speak at the moment with other conglomerates in Southeast Asia, also in Europe, for example, most of the pain points there are really the performance of their legacy tech, right? Huge system they have in place and with very low TPS, right? And if you have then even 100,000 transactions a day and 20 million users using the platform, for example, then you might have a problem, right? If you don't have new technology stack and the architecture was really not built to really scale up from the legacy system, yeah? And then again, what I mentioned, the added security from blockchain to strengthen fraud prevention is really one of the big benefits for that business. And then also the use of smart contracts to really automate the processes, right? So that was also one of the reasons why we got involved to help with the smart contract development, to really automate the whole process from earning rewards, from also spending token rewards, etc. Yeah. And then also what I mentioned earlier, that you have the possibility to potentially interoperate your loyalty network with other loyalty networks, you know. So where we are always thinking in the long run is when we have many, many different clients using at the end the same platform, they could actually interoperate with each other, right? That's the vision where we are trying to come to in the future. Second, let's take a look at the participating businesses and partners, right? For them, it was very important to have as a partner, you know, as a hotel, for example, or as a cinema, to have a full service portal to manage their own campaigns, independent from the other participating businesses and partners, right? And then also it was very important for them to have a tool to easily onboard into the platform ecosystem, yeah, new partners, etc. And then also that they have their insights, limited insights, but insights into customers' behaviors and transactions, right? Which you could also ultimately use for cross-selling your products if you know a little bit the behavior of your own clients. And then last but not least, what is always the ultimate goal, every client wants to bring a solution to the market which has which enhances the customer experience, right? So in this case, one of the benefits really the increased engagement via gamification, right? To transform the loyalty program and to get really the end clients and the users and the retail clients engaged, yeah? And with engagement, with gamification, you can actually really increase the traffic and get more referrals, etc. And then again, ability to transfer the tokens between friends and family. For us, it's a normal requirement. For some clients, it was really difficult to achieve with the usual traditional technology. And then also the potential for users to really own their own points and are able to actually use their points to do investment into any kind of digital assets, right? Again, some regulatory implications there most likely. And then also the ability to add profiles per account, especially if you are a user and you have kids, aunt, etc., and you want to actually have a profile with different kind of households members attached to your account in general. All right, last but not least, I just have one slide actually left. I just want to take a look at some of the advantages and the definitions of a utility token and its use, because these days we hear a lot about utility tokens, right? And there are different kind of, I think, ways of using them. And I put it into 3 segments here in general. First of all, the utility token, really the advantage to have blockchain technology to provide the ability to launch even a utility token. And at the end of the day, if you think about, okay, what is a utility token at the end, right? It's nothing else than a voucher or a promissory note, which is at the end, or could be an efficient funding tool to build your ecosystem. As I mentioned initially, to build an ecosystem is costly. That's one of the challenges these days, right? But you could actually use the utility token to actually fund that ecosystem as well. Because at the end of the day, the utility token is very unique to this ecosystem, but it's also the currency of that specific ecosystem, right? And if you think about it, as you use it as a currency, it really functions as a unit of, how I say, a measurement for the assets and liabilities. And at the end of the day, it is the use of payment, right? So again, then it's also the way, okay, how you structure the utility token, in which jurisdiction, what kind of regulatory impact it might have. I'm not a lawyer or legal specialist, but these questions always come up in general. So in general, when you look at to use this utility token, what kind of advantage has it in this ecosystem? Yeah, as an ecosystem currency, it's really its elasticity, right? So at the end of the day, if the ecosystem works well, the underlying value of the utility token would most likely appreciate, right? And ultimately increases the value of its assets and the liabilities in tandem, but also in reverse, if things do not work well, both the asset side and the liability side would decrease or shrink, right? But in general, the elasticity really provides really agility to the whole ecosystem, and yeah, makes it more agile. Yeah, it's definitely an advantage. And then in general, I mean, utility tokens are really a versatile funding tool, as I mentioned before, for any type of ecosystem. And it will actually make it possible to tackle the long list of tasks that need to be undertaken to create, at the end, a sustainable global economy. Because when you build an ecosystem, right, from scratch, or you enhance your existing ones, right, and this is for any community, you want to build a long-term, sustainable kind of your own economy with that, right? Even if it's interoperable with other different global, with other different kind of ecosystems, yeah? And in my perspective, or in our perspective, the utility token is really a game changer. And we will see more and more of these use cases coming in different kind of forms live to the market. And then maybe something more philosophically before I'm ending the session and to open it up for Q&A. So in general, when you look at the history of humans, humankind, and also how money actually has been innovated over all these centuries, etc., right? There is a very closely correlation to actually both. And when you actually envision that blockchain and the ability to create these specific ecosystem currencies with a utility token, right? This is really nothing else than a transformative innovation for the creation of ecosystem, and which in fact has an impact also on humans and humankind, right? Maybe a little bit too philosophical, but in general, it has an impact how humans also innovate further currencies and money itself. Yeah. Well, I hope that all makes sense. I ended a little bit earlier now, but we also have some questions, it seems. Again, connect with me on LinkedIn. If you have any questions directly as well, send me a WhatsApp or an email anytime in general.
Thank you so much, Don. We really appreciate you sharing your insights as a really experienced tech entrepreneur that you are, and CEO of Lykke. And this is a great role apart from what you mentioned, your main role as a father of a family with a fourth child on the way. Again, I'm Diana, the Research and Sustainability Head of GBBC, and I'm going to take questions now, reading them from the audience. So we have a first question, which is, what has been the most innovative blockchain use case you have seen so far? And what have been the most challenging blockchain use cases you have been confronted with so far?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. That's, I think, an open-ended question. There's no really answer, but I think with this utility token, what I just mentioned, actually, I think that's one of the most, but you can't really say one of the most innovative blockchain use cases. I also want to mention something else, because often with clients now in these days, when there are regulatory implications for specific use cases. And we see it with an opportunity we have at the moment in Asia. So this client wants to actually move to a digital multi-asset trading platform, but wouldn't actually get on time this kind of license from the regulator. So we start actually with a kind of an off-chain approach, what I mentioned earlier, to transform them in the future actually to an on-chain approach. And I think that's really the innovative, general, the innovation you see in the market, right? Even if you're not starting directly with blockchain, but you have the ultimate goal to go there, right? But there are so many different use cases as well with this IP music rights we are going to market. It's very innovative, right? And then we have another one where we're building the whole DeFi marketplace for one client in Europe in general. So there are a lot of innovative, but also to the second part of the question, I think you can't say really what is the most challenging blockchain use case. It really depends, first of all, what is the use case, which jurisdiction, because if you look in Switzerland, for example, where our HQ is, you have very advanced regulations these days, right? So for example, this equity share tokenization, what I mentioned earlier, where we go to market with the Swiss banking group, is very specific for Switzerland because the regulation is in place that the bank can do it. But in other jurisdictions, in most of other jurisdictions, they can't do. So the biggest challenges here is also the uncertainty and the non-existing clarity from a regulator, what you can do and what you can't do. And that produces a lot of legal cost and a lot of gray areas where clients might tap into it. Yeah, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. Going into the next question would be, what is one piece of advice that you would like to share for those who would not be familiar with blockchain-powered solutions?
Okay, also good question. So first of all, in general, also when we get referred to potential client or we speak about a project, etc. So first of all, you really have to think about, if you're not really firm with blockchain itself, it's not a problem. But first of all, take a look what your problem is, right? Because then you will establish if blockchain is actually the ultimate solution. But sometimes you come to the conclusion, blockchain actually is not really the solution. Yeah, it also depends if it's private blockchain or public blockchain from TPS point of view, etc., transaction per seconds, etc. But I think in general, what I see now in the market, that when I speak to FIs, to conglomerates, right, the educational level is quite different, right? Some have experience, some know-how, some less experience, right? But in general, as an individual, if that also is in general addressed to an individual, just actually deep dive a little bit, get the basics from blockchain to understand the technology itself, and then understand the use cases where blockchain in the market plays a pivot role.
Right. Thank you. And then the next question would be, what are the misconceptions a business may have about using community or loyalty tokens?
What are the misconceptions? Sorry, I can't see that.
Yeah,
now.
what are the misconceptions a business may have about using community or loyalty tokens?
Well, the misconception is also, it's I think an open-ended question, a very good question. Thank you for that. The misconception is really that, one is really, again, what I see, that some clients don't even expect that there are any kind of regulatory impact, right? When you use actually this community token. And again, if you use this community token or the token itself, like a token rewards token, what we had for the conglomerate, for example, just within the ecosystem, you're normally fine, right? Again, I'm not a legal expert, don't quote me on that. But as soon as you want to convert this token and want to use it as a payment instrument, right? Even within this ecosystem, then it's getting tricky. And the misconception is often that, well, there's no really regulatory impact. But again, you have to deep dive on the use case and then the jurisdiction where the client is based at the end of the day. I would say that is one of the misconceptions. And the other misconception is in general that a lot of people just say, okay, crypto is equal blockchain, right? And I can't stress enough, and most of you most likely know it anyway, but some clients don't know, right? Because crypto is just a use case, right? Blockchain is a technology, and you can do so much more with the technology than you can do actually at the end with crypto, right? So yeah.
Exactly. And then the next question would be, have you encountered a single common factor among ecosystems, even though they may be in different industries?
I mean, yes, every ecosystem, right, has, I would say, similar motivations why they actually build up the ecosystem, right? First of all, the motivation, if it's for a business, a conglomerate or FI or like an, for example, association, first of all, they want to bring their clients together, right? Their users together and enhance the experience. But then also, what I also hear more and more, that those ecosystems also realize that they are stronger to partner even sometimes with their competitors. And to be honest with you, we see that same. I mean, we are a tech provider, right? At the moment, in the future, regulated, hopefully, but tech provider. And we also partner with competitors of us, because sometimes you can leverage the strengths of each other, even if there are overlappings, kind of competitive like overlappings, right? So together stronger, but I would say these two, I would see as very common in general from a motivation perspective here.
Right. Ecosystems are so important for this technology to scale because it's networked. It's about communities of participants because it's decentralized. That's a very good point you raise and throughout the presentation. That's fantastic. The next question is, oh, sorry, please go on.
No, also Diana, thank you for the comment, because also just if you look at the concept of the DAO, right, to build communities in that way, right? I mean, it's at the end of the day also, I mean, a similar concept, right? From that angle, yeah.
Exactly. The next question is, what blockchains do you use? Are you blockchain agnostic?
Yeah, good question. So we developed blockchain application, right? And we started with Ethereum, then Hyperledger. So we are in general blockchain agnostic. From an architecture perspective, I don't know exactly the number, but I think we are already integrated in kind of 20-ish or 30 different blockchain protocols. So we, at the end, are agnostic, and we really make it dependent on the use case and also what the client wants. And then we suggest which protocol, you know, but it's really also depending on the use case. If there's a lot of transaction like involved, then it comes even back to the general question, is it public blockchain or private blockchain, etc. But we are agnostic, yes.
Yeah, and thank you for the business overview. Can you explain more about how you take regulatory work away from customers? What service will you provide to do this? And what markets will this service, will this benefit?
Yeah, very good question. Yeah, so I can't share too much detail because it's ongoing. But in general, the idea is, and I actually already took over within my company, an ecosystem company who will actually get regulated in Switzerland. And the idea is to offer a regulated exchange services for institutions, not for retail, in first instance for institutions, because we are really focusing on the B2B part, right? And just as a very high level, we want to get the regulation for specific use cases, right? To offer a platform to institutions to be able to launch their own tokens, which they can then do for different motivation, like, for example, crowdfunding or fractionalization, if you speak about real estate, for example, to get investors, etc. But then also build a secondary marketplace and to be able to transfer the token to other ecosystems from our platform, right? So that's the aim. And if we don't do it this way with our own regulation, our clients always have to have the regulation, right? So we want to start in Switzerland, but we want to move to other jurisdictions as well, but to be confirmed still.
Yeah, that's excellent. That's excellent. Well, that's all we have time for. I'm going to say thank you so much, first and foremost, Dom and Lykke Business, for joining us for this thoughtful and engaging presentation and Q&A on blockchain for business. Thank you, everyone who attended. We really look forward to learning more about Lykke's progress, and a recording of this presentation will be circulated to everybody who registered and shared publicly on GBBC's YouTube channel. And thank you all, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Diana. It was a pleasure. Speak soon. Bye-bye.